welcome to Faith in the Real World, new season 2, and we got one returning person and one new person. Me, I'm Matthew Teedy.
I'm Mark Teedy, pastor at St. John's.
Yes, we are coming to you from St. John's Lutheran Church in South Minneapolis. Mark, it's been a while since you've done this.
It has been a while. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get back into it. It's always fun. I mean, it's the old format was more, blindside me with a question and we kind of get into the conversation. This is going to be a fun way of setting it up, I think. We've got some topics planned, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, this is going to be the first of many episodes. Today we're going to talk about The Chosen, the TV series, and its impact. We also are going to cover a variety of topics, not just really religious based either.
That's right. Yep.
So we're going to talk about the political climate, how the church is in today's world, especially the Lutheran faith, and
Societal stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So get ready for a wide range of subjects with a Lutheran lens, an ELCA Lutheran lens.
Exactly. That's well said. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So today's topic is The Chosen, like I stated, and its impact. I actually watched the final 2 episodes of season 5
Oh, you
last night.
did.
It's season 5, right? That's the latest one?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, last night was my first time watching the final 2, and spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, it ends with Judas betraying Jesus in the garden.
Wait, that happens? What?
Yes!
Oh,
You didn't know that!
oh, man.
You're a pastor. I feel like you know that. Jeez. You've been at this for how long? Like,
Yeah, 28 years.
yeah, you should know that.
I should know that. So when we watch it here, we have a session called Holy Conversations and Wednesday nights now, and we watched the final episode of season 4, where Jesus at the end gets on the donkey and rides toward Jerusalem.
Palm Sunday. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But he's not going in yet. He's just going toward. So it's just a cliffhanger, of course. And,
Yeah.
the class really liked that. They liked the cliffhanger part of it, and there's a lot of different reactions that I'd like to go through. The way that the class, the discussion afterwards, because the video was hour 24, I think it was. Our discussion ended at 9:15. We started at 6:30, and we were leaving the building by about 9:30 p.m. So we went a solid 3 hours.
Wow.
And the conversation was just like popcorn around the table. Boom, 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 boom. So we'll get into that. But so you've done this whole season 5,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to do season 6 and 7.
And also, I think 8 is a
Okay.
possibility too.
Okay.
Like I know they're doing the crucifixion next,
Yeah.
and then it's the resurrection. That's gonna be a whole season, and it might end there, but The Chosen's more about the disciples, not Jesus himself. So I'm hoping that will dive more into the AD aspect, and we'll see what the disciples do after his death.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of touched on that already, but I want to see it in a broader sense, like I want to see Peter preach, and to the point where he gets crucified as well, and then
Right.
and then Matthew and Mary. 'Cause I don't know what happens to Mary. Like, do we know? Or does she just disappears?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much right. I bet the Roman Catholics they know.
Mm.
Because Mary's kind of a big thing for the Roman Catholics.
Yeah.
But I really don't know what that is. But
But I want to see Paul. That's what I would like to see.
I would like them to do the Book of Acts,
Mm.
where you just literally, like you're saying, it's the after resurrection period of the early church, before they're even known as Christians. They're known as followers of the way, and they are so devoted to each other, and they are literally identified as followers of Jesus because they hold everything in common. Nobody has private property.
These are the disciples.
The disciples,
Yeah.
yep. Oh, well, all of the followers of Jesus, including the 12, and we are followers of the way, and then they run into Saul, of course, right? And Saul is a persecutor of the church, and he has this amazing experience on Damascus Road, where the Lord appears to him and says, "Why are you persecuting me?" And he's suddenly stricken with blindness, and his whole story about becoming the Apostle Paul, one of the greatest evangelists that ever lived. And then that whole saga of how the church went from 12 people to hundreds of thousands to now billions of people is just an amazing story. And it's something that I'd like to segue into, is that, in our current culture climate, there's a lot of decline of church membership or church attendance especially in first world countries, so Europe and in the United States. Lots of empty big church buildings. It's causing a lot of great sadness. And one of the things that Dallas Jenkins was motivating him to do this story in the way that he's doing it is specifically because the church has been in such decline for so many years. There are now people that do not know who Jesus is or was or is, and they just his goal. I googled what was his goal, in doing this, and it was literally to get the story of Jesus, his life, his ministry, his resurrection out to billions of people in the world, people who know the story way too well, right? Like just completely fluent in it, and as well as people who have never ever heard the name of Jesus. And it's just amazing story that it's for that purpose, but it's not a rub it in your face kind of evangelism.
Yeah. They don't shove it down your throat
At all.
It's almost like a non-denominational sense.
It's absolutely
Because
non-denominational.
they don't do like stuff where it says that's a Catholic thing, that's a Lutheran thing, that's a Baptist thing. No, it's neutral.
It's very, very biblically centered, non-denominational.
They're just telling the story.
They're just telling the story.
Yeah.
And what I love about the way that they're presenting this is that if you go on to the app and you get that app on your phone, then you're privy to these other little videos and things like they do, like what I call it I think they call it the round tables.
Yeah.
Where Dallas Jenkins is sort of the host, and to his right is a Roman Catholic priest, and across the table is an evangelical pastor, and then on his left is a Jewish rabbi, and they talk about what was going on in the first century, and why did this happen this way, what's going on culturally, what's going on politically, and they talk about things like, did they actually have beds? I thought they maybe slept on floors. Oh no, they had beds, or just they wanted it as accurate as possible, which I think is really, really wise. And every once in a while in those roundtables, they'll start talking, and the Catholic priest will look at the evangelical pastor and go, no, wait a minute, you're getting too Protestant there, and then vice versa. Oh, that's just not so important to us Protestants, and they giggle about that. But with Dallas Jenkins was, and also the Jewish rabbi would say, you guys, that's Paul that comes later. You're bringing Paul's Jesus into the Gospel's Jesus, and you got to let Jesus be a Jew. That it's really important. You just let him. And I just think that that's so authentic to the ticklishness of recording this and getting the story out. And it makes it such an amazing emotional viewing. And so for me personally, I was not going to watch that just on principle. A couple of members of the church stopped me and fellowship bar. Pastor, have you heard about The Chosen? Really, you should check this out. It's great. And I went,
both you.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
You. I remember both you and Connie, who's also a pastor.
Right.
You did not want to do it.
Nope. We were sure it was going to be like very much
cheesy.
Yeah. Well, but also uberly conservative right-wing Christianity. And it's going to be partisan. It's going to be denominationally centric. It's going to have some bias some way. I wasn't even sure if it was going to be done, is it Christian or is it Mormon? Or I was jaded.
Mm-hmm.
So I go on vacation with my wife to your dad's and mom's place, Florida.
Yeah.
And one night, Julie says, "Oh, we're watching it." And I was like, "No, I'm just not interested in watching it."
She loves it, by the way.
She loved it. And so
Hi, Mom.
Right. Hi, Julie. So it was, I sat on the couch next to Connie, next to Dan, next to Julie, and she turns this thing on, and we watched this. And at the end, I was literally weeping. I was weeping, and I was completely converted. So now we're watching all of these, and we have a whole 3-hour conversation of it on a Wednesday night. And I'm sad more people don't come. I really am just sad about it.
How many people did come now? About 8?
12.
9? Oh, 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're fluctuating between 8 and 13. But yeah, it's absolutely, and what's really amazing, and I mean this sincerely, so I love it personally, right? It's very almost devotional for me to be able to just experience the Gospels without it feeling like work. So it's very devotional to me. Professionally, I said to the class last night that I said, I just have to tell you that I have never had these deep of Bible study conversations until this Chosen. It is, I said to them that they are learning what is actually in the Bible faster and at a deeper level, wrestling with what it says and what does it mean that it says this. That I've never had that before. People just want to read the Bible and go, oh, that's what it says.
Mm.
This show makes the whole all 5 seasons. It does a marvelous job at laying out what the scriptures are, giving a backstory to each one of the characters in such a way that their lives are it's very possible that this is why they were in the spot that they were at, right? The Samaritan woman at the well. Jesus says, yeah, go tell your husband. And she says, oh, I don't have a husband. He says, you're right. You don't have a husband. You've had 5. And the woman the man that you're living with is also not your husband. How do you know that? Right? And she's stunned that the stranger, this Jew, knows her story. And it gives her freedom because he doesn't condemn her for it. And then they go through this backstory of, well, they were living in a very male-centric world that was very much discriminatory against women, and women were not allowed to file for divorce. So the very first husband she loved deeply, and for some reason she always would go through the store. Like at the beginning of the program, she's going through the city streets and she picks up an orange and smells it, and the guy goes, hey, and she puts it back. And later you learn that her very first husband, the love of her life, and I think he might have died, I don't remember what the backstory is, but he always smelled like oranges. And that's why she was sniffing an orange, to remember that her husband. And then I think he died, and then second husband divorced her. The third husband I think died. Fourth husband was, I don't remember what happened there. And the fifth husband was a marriage of convenience, but he wouldn't divorce her, paid no attention to her whatsoever. So she was now living with another man. So it was a whole system. She couldn't get out of it. And it wasn't her fault. And so Jesus is at the well to meet her, to set her free. And that whole backstory absolutely is invented, but it was invented to give her situation plausibility, a context. And that's what's so magical about this thing, because it's not the story of Jesus from Jesus' perspective, that we know what's going on in Jesus' head. We actually don't. We're always left with the question mark. And so if I was a viewer of this and Jesus is talking about what his plans are and he kind of leaves it as a vague story, we would be just like the disciples. What do you mean by that? And then you listen very intently to what Jesus is teaching and you try to figure out what's it going to mean, but not until Mary comes in with the alabaster jar and anoints his feet, and he says, she has anointed me for my burial. Burial? What do you mean burial? And they're shocked at this moment because they're all thinking a different kind of Messiah is coming. And I think because it's from the disciples' perspective, and they each have their idea of what the biblical Messiah should be, they love him, they're intrigued by him, they're amazed by him, and they don't get it. And I think it's absolutely masterfully done. I really think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so good. Like this past season alone, they're like, "What the heck is going on?"
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You know, Judas gets a pretty bad rap historically, right? I mean, it's his fingers were in the coffers. He's stealing from the coffers to his coin purse, and because he was the holder of the coin purse, and things were disappearing, and he's kind of working the back scenes. But you learn from this, Judas thought that Jesus was going to be a political savior who would unite the tribes of Israel once again and recreate the nation state of Israel that David had, the kingdom of David, and like kick out their oppressors and occupiers. And Judas, you start to see his growing frustration because they don't have enough money to raise an army. How are they going to do that? So we learn that his stealing from the coin purse was to save money for the revolt that he was sure was going to come.
How much of that should we take to heart though? Because it, yeah,
It's
yes,
a
we're telling
plausible
this.
backstory, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just a plausible backstory. Um, and it's just what would motivate a person to be like that? Well, yeah, if you're thinking that your Messiah is going to be a political savior, you're going to need money and revenue for all these different things, for weapons, for the feeding the army that you have to raise, and all that stuff. So it's not just plausible. That's why he was stealing it. There is a moment where Judas. I guess what I'm trying to say is that suddenly Judas and his what ends up being a betrayal to Jesus, it makes sense because he's just trying to force Jesus into acting, but he never understood that until, and that I'll just leave that as a cliffhanger. But there's 30 pieces of silver, right? He turns him in for 30 pieces of silver, and he tries to give it back, and they won't take it.
Mm.
So there's that. It was blood money now, so they can't, and they won't take it back. And now he's stuck, and so it's a really, I just think it's so great, and I do think one of the questions that you and I were talking about is what has it done to the Christian church, almost like a Christian culture, right? What's it done? And I
yeah.
don't,
What's its impact of it? Like a show like this, because I've seen it
yeah.
for believers and non-believers alike.
What have you seen?
Well, like the one that stuck with me was when the actor plays Jesus Jonathan. He was doing an interview and he said he received a letter from a member of the Church of Satan, and he was really surprised that he was reading it. And he was like, "I don't know if I believe this, but you tell a good story."
Wow.
Yeah. And so if you could do something like that with Jesus' sworn enemy,
Yeah.
imagine what
that
else
something?
he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. There's
And people watch this too, just because they think it's a great TV show.
exactly.
It's still in the top 10 on Amazon Prime.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's also very important to say this one little thing. And I don't mean to make it a huge big deal, but I think it's important to remember what the chosen is not the Bible, right? It just isn't. They stay very, very closely attuned to. Well, I think they use the ESV version for Jesus's words. I think it's the English Standard Version. I think. That's just a guess on my part, but so I think everything that Jonathan says is really close to being spot on to what's in the Gospels. There's a couple lines thrown in hither thither that, and like when Jesus is laughing, we never have any record of Jesus laughing, which is a bummer because he had to have had a funny sense of humor.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? But it's not the Bible, but it is a fantastic tool, one of the best tools I've seen for non-pastors and pastors alike, priests, whatever, to get into the scriptures. You can see it, and then when you read it, you can visualize who those characters are, and you've already made a relationship with those characters on the screen that now are on the book.
And that helps us with like Bible study too, and your holy conversations too. Like it makes them want to dig deeper because you can actually see,
right,
put a face to it.
Exactly.
Because I actually struggle, but before Chosen, I always had to picture what he looked like during prayers and stuff. And as a younger kid, it was easier, but now these days it's harder. I've noticed.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
it's awkward to think of Jonathan as Jesus. No offense, but he's not Jesus in real life. Like he even says that, he stresses that I'm not him.
Right, exactly. And he's had people come up to him in the streets and ask them to, will you lay hands on me? Will you heal me? Will you pray for me? Will you do this? And he's like, I play Jesus. I am not Jesus. Well, can we at least pray with you? Oh, yeah, we can do that. And then he'll pray with them right there in the street. And then he'll remind them, I just played Jesus. And if I've helped you find Jesus, then great. But remember that Jesus is finding you. Right. And so it's just a tool. It's just a tool. It's one arrow in the quiver. But boy, is it a really good tool. I mean, there's one woman that attends the Holy Conversations that I do here at Wednesday nights at 6:30 p.m. All are welcome.
Probably in the fall now.
Right, starting in September. That actually is a sincere invitation. We'd love to have anybody that would come. You do not have to be a Christian to come to these things. You don't even have to be a Christian to come to St. John's Lutheran Church on a Sunday morning. We know that everybody in the world is just lonely there's a post-COVID syndrome. I'm convinced that we don't know how to engage in public meeting spaces. Theaters are struggling. Movie theaters are struggling. Churches, synagogues, mosques, they're all struggling because people, it's important to them, but it's really important, and they think everybody else should go. So very few people are going. And when people do come, who cares? I mean, right now, for me, everything is about Christ Jesus. Everything. That's my job, my career, my life, and everything. But if it's only, there's a nice little pithy aphorism that says, we can't be so heaven-minded we're no earthly good. Right? Can't be so heaven-minded that I'm no earthly good. If I'm only thanking God for the blessings I've got and don't help my neighbor, I'm absolutely no earthly good. And I am convinced that one of the greatest gifts that the church can bring to the American society, actually to the world, is a meeting place, a safe, level, fair, equitable meeting place for all races, creeds, kinds of people.
A community center.
It's a community center, literally community, the center of community. And I just would love it to have an opportunity. If there are 50 people in this room, and we break up into groups of 8 to have these same holy conversations. I mean, the reason I call them holy conversations is because we never stay on topic. It's always drifting left or right or up or down or catty corner. It's just always all over the place, kind of like we are right now.
Yeah.
But the time together is holy, and it's vital that we come together with others, share our faith, share our doubts, share our concerns. What's happening in the world? What's happening with our political scheme of things? And how did we get at each other's throats so quickly? And how do we rebuild our world into a more trustworthy place? How do we do that? Well, I can't do it alone. I don't have all the answers. In fact, most of the time I only have like a suggestion. But I believe God gives God's wisdom to everybody, just little nuggets of it. And then we can put together a puzzle, or at least a little puzzle, and make a little spot. And I think that's what happens with The Chosen. When we watch the thing, and then the first question I always ask, what did you notice? What stood out? And then last night they had the question on a little cheat sheet was, what was a line from somebody? What was one of their lines that caught you off guard? And it was this, for many people around the table, it was when Joanna suddenly looks at her horrible husband. I mean, he's just awful guy. Brings his lover with them to go meet Herod, and it's just, he's just disgusting. And she finally sees that the crowds are gathering and they're about to do the parade welcoming Jesus into Jerusalem, and she realizes, oh my goodness, I want to be with him. I don't want to be with this man. And she just goes, whatever, let's say, I don't remember his name. Goodbye, Claudius, or whatever his name is. Goodbye, Claudius. And she got up and left. But she suddenly was beaming in joy. And she hadn't been. She'd been very, very sad. So we talked about that. What does it mean? And how do you find joy leaving your spouse? And what a tragedy that is.
Yeah.
But for her, staying with her spouse was bringing her death. And so we got totally down that road. And then 10 minutes later, a woman shared again last night that, I'm such and such. She's in her 80s. And she said, I've never been to a Bible study before. I never knew any of this was in the Bible. I didn't know. And now look at all this time I've wasted. What a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Nobody thought, oh, shame on you didn't read the Bible. They're like, oh my gosh, isn't this great? That was the response. That's, everything. It's just so wonderful to have those deeply profound faith moments. And the catalyst of it is this Chosen.
I love it.
It is. It's just fun. It's entertaining. There's moments where you're laughing. There's a scene in season 1 or 2 that the disciples have been through a whole bunch of stuff, and they're at the Sea of Galilee, and the show ends with them swimming in the Sea of Galilee and chicken fighting. I mean, they're just real human beings, and that's...
Yeah, it humanizes Jesus. It shows you that, like, my previous stuff made him look so divine and godly, I am he. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Let us go now.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
no,
oh, no one speaks like this.
no, but they in this
Terrible.
in this one they make him dance, they make him laugh and joking around.
And he gets exhausted.
Yeah,
Remember after the feeding of the 5,000, he goes and he sits down, and his mother Mary comes and talks to him. And he says, "Oh, Ema, thank you. I just gotta sleep." And she rubs his shoulders.
oh yes,
And because he's all just tight, and so Mary rubs Jesus' shoulders, and she says, "Go to bed." That's telling his little boy go to bed. It's the Lord, and he does. He goes and he lays down, and then she goes out and says, "Leave him alone. He's retired for the evening," or some.
Mhm.
I've never seen anything where they depict Jesus as exhausted, except when he's being crucified. Then you see his angst and his anguish and his pain and sorrow. But not just because it's a long day. It's just a long day. Jesus needs a nap. I love how human he is, and yet there's still that. All of a sudden there will be this one little flicker of somebody will come to Jesus. They haven't yet met as a group, and he'll say, "Oh, I can't remember a line, but they'll say, I've been doing such and so," and Jesus will go, "Yeah, I know." It just, and they almost miss it, but it's that little tiny, not yet revealed divinity that's also within him.
yeah.
They're hiding that well.
But I remember that one scene. I think it was season 4 where I think it's Mother Mary like cleaning him up at her house, and I wish I remembered what she said, but Jesus turns to her and reminds her that he's also human.
Yeah,
You remember that? Yeah,
she says, I'm human," and he goes, "So am I."
yeah.
Yeah, that was really potent.
Mm-hmm.
Because the duality of Jesus. If you have a glass fully loaded of milk, and this one's fully loaded of chocolate, 100% chocolate, 100% milk, you can't combine them and have the 200% equal 100%. How is it that Jesus is 100% human, 100% God? And the answer to that is, I don't know. I don't. And I can't explain it. I just know he is.
Hmm.
And I'm going to just leave that one there. And, when the Lord calls my name, that might be one of the first questions. How did that work?
Yeah.
Um,
You just watch it be something super simple, and you're like, "Oh!"
exactly right. Yeah, because it's not even, yeah, I just, there's, I really think this is one of the best tools. And that by the way, because they're making this to not be scripture, but to be an entry point into who is this Jesus, and present Jesus in a very human, relatable way, which makes all of the disciples, all of the followers of Jesus, also very relatable. We understand why they don't get it, who Jesus is really. We understand that. And we understand the little wrangling and why the sons of thunder asked to be at his right and his left. There's a backstory to that they invent, which is not biblical at all. But why would they have asked that question?
Yeah.
So now we have at least a plausibility. We don't know what the actual conversation was, but there might have been a conversation between them, because Peter got his name changed. Well, maybe we're it's just plausibility, but all of that, it changes our ability to approach Jesus now.